Breaking. Bloodshed in the heart of Moscow. Shockwaves reached the Kremlin. The engineers behind the Oreshnik missile program were targeted in the brutal attack. Who is really hunting down the Kremlin's key weapons designers? The truth may shake you. A critical moment on the battlefield. Ukrainian forces are driving a wedge between Crimea and Donbas. Massive Ukrainian operation. ATACMS and SCALP missiles are slamming into targets, turning strongholds into fire and smoke. At the same time, Ukraine's new generation of drones is rewriting the rules of the war. The new aerial predator Slavik is already in the sky, watching, tracking, and directing battlefield reconnaissance. And the tension is spreading beyond the front. Is Turkey preparing a massive response against Iran? Erdogan's patience appears to be running out. Tehran now faces the pressure of Ankara's hard line, and the next move could trigger a major explosion. The warning signals are blaring. Let's break down what's happening right now. Hello, this is Ukraine Today. Maria Farafonova here with the latest updates. The developers of the Oreshnik were nearly killed in the very center of Moscow. An attack was carried out in the Russian capital against scientists Vladimir Simakov and Alexander Lobentsov. Both engineers, around 70 years old, spent decades developing semiconductor lasers and key components for Russia's latest weapons, including guidance systems for the heavily promoted Oreshnik missile. But the most shocking part of the story is who carried out the attack. The assailants turned out to be teenagers, 14-year-old Ilya Osipov and his 18-year-old acquaintance.
The story surrounding the attack on scientists at the defense company remains under a complete government ban. Federal agencies and media outlets have been ordered to hush up the incident. Two young men, 14-year-old Ilya Osipov and 18-year-old Filip Karapetyan, approached the institute. Osipov attacked the two scientists with a knife, while Karapetyan was the cameraman.
According to reports, during the assault, the 14-year-old Osipov stabbed Simakov several times in the neck and chest, while his older companion stood nearby filming the entire attack on the phone, reportedly as proof of the job. The second engineer, Lobentsov, managed to fight back, defending himself with his own work briefcase. The incident once again raised questions about security in Russia, showing that even key specialists in the defense industry are not truly protected despite official claims of strict safeguards.
The victims were employees of a defense industry company, development scientists Vladimir Simakov and Alexander Lobentsov. Simakov was hit first and suffered much more serious injuries, stab wounds to the neck, shoulder, and chest. He was hospitalized and remains in serious condition. Lobentsov managed to resist and defend himself. The scientist fought back with his briefcase and ultimately suffered only a cut to his hand. He has since been released from the hospital.
After their arrest, the suspects claimed they believed they were carrying out a secret mission. According to them, unknown coordinators contacted them through messaging apps and convinced them the operation was being conducted on behalf of Russian intelligence services. In exchange for eliminating the leading engineers, they were allegedly promised a reward of 1 million rubles and even a personal award from the president of Russia.
As the defendants themselves told their parents before their arrest, unknown individuals told them they were carrying out a secret operation for Russian intelligence services and promised a bonus of 1 million rubles and a personal award from President Vladimir Putin. Both young men hold pro-government and monarchist views, and their social media accounts contain a great deal of content in this vein.
It is worth noting that the engineers were working on the system known as Oreshnik, which according to Ukrainian military intelligence is also referred to as Kedr. The missile was reportedly developed on the basis of the RS-26 Rubesh platform, the very project the Kremlin has recently been using to demonstrate its military ambitions and threaten Western countries. The front is heating up. Ukrainian forces are tearing into the enemy in the Zaporizhia direction. Units of the main intelligence directorate of Ukraine's Ministry of Defense, together with the defense forces, have stopped an offensive by the Russian army in their area of responsibility. Intelligence officers report that for 3 months, fighters of the Timur Special Unit carried out a complex defensive operation in the Zaporizhia sector to disrupt the occupiers' offensive plans and prevent them from advancing toward the regional center. During the operation, more than 300 Russian occupiers were eliminated and another 39 were taken prisoner. With precise drone and artillery strikes, Ukrainian intelligence units are systematically restricting the aggressor's logistics, forcing Russian troops to increasingly abandon assault operations.
The actions of the special forces made it possible to stabilize the defense on advantageous lines for Ukrainian defenders and secure Zaporizhia.
Ukrainian military technology continues to evolve rapidly. The new Ukrainian drone Slavik, developed by Viri, is already flying, filming and guiding combat reconnaissance like a true hunter tracking the enemy. The drone is designed as a domestic alternative to the well-known Mavic systems and is expected to strengthen Ukraine's capabilities on the battlefield. And this is just the first step. Field combat tests are scheduled to begin next week, after which the drone may enter serial production. Slavik can remain airborne for up to 2 hours, which is roughly 4 times longer than a standard Mavic. Its communication range can reach about 50 kilometers in testing conditions and around 30 kilometers in real combat environments. This range allows operators to control the drone from a significant distance while it performs reconnaissance missions deep near the front line. The drone includes several advanced functions such as beacon-based navigation, automatic target detection and tracking, and the ability to carry additional equipment. These capabilities allow it to assist in reconnaissance operations while helping reduce risks for Ukrainian troops. The daytime version is estimated to cost between $4,000 and $4,500, while models equipped with thermal imaging systems are slightly more expensive. Developers say the drone is meant to strengthen control of the airspace above the battlefield. The Slavik drone is another example of how Ukrainian engineering is shaping modern aerial warfare and improving battlefield efficiency. A new security scare has shaken the region. According to Turkey's Ministry of Defense, a ballistic missile threat linked to Iran triggered alarm after the projectile was detected heading toward Turkish airspace. NATO air defense systems successfully intercepted the target before it could cause damage.
Some ammunition fragments landed in empty fields in Gaziantep. There were no casualties or injuries in the incident.
Ankara reacted sharply to the incident. Officials stressed that Turkey's patience is not unlimited and warned that any threat to the country's territory or airspace would be met with decisive action.
Turkey attaches great importance to good neighborly relations and regional stability. However, we once again emphasize that all necessary steps will be taken resolutely and without hesitation against any threat directed at our country's territory and airspace. We remind everyone that heeding Turkey's warnings in this regard is in everyone's interest.
A similar episode reportedly occurred earlier as well. On March 4th, a report appeared online claiming that a ballistic missile launched from Iran had been detected while crossing the airspace of Iraq and Syria and heading toward the direction of Turkey. The threat was neutralized before it could reach its destination. Elements of NATO's air and missile defense system deployed in the eastern Mediterranean intercepted and destroyed the missile in time. Alliance security systems responded quickly, eliminating the danger before it could approach Turkish territory, highlighting the growing tensions and risks in the region. Putin will be next. The Kremlin dictator is panic-stricken by the fear of betrayal and a coup from his own circle. The escalation occurred after the elimination of his friend Ayatollah Khamenei. How justified are the bunker leader's suspicions? Let's take a look.
Putin's weak spot has been found. I
honestly do not even want to begin to contemplate such an unfortunate possibility. I really don't want to.
Well, they're already openly discussing it at the same time, Mr. Trump, Mr. Netanyahu.
I have heard everything you are saying, Sunny, but I do not even wish to discuss it further.
The lightning-fast overthrow of 2 Russian allies, Maduro and Khamenei, seriously frightened the Kremlin dictator.
Most of the people are already dead. We had a group in mind and they died. And now we have another group. Maybe they're dead too, judging by the reports. So I think a third wave is coming.
Paranoid? Putin realizes that the same fate awaits him next.
Putin spreads destruction around him, whether political or physical. That's the first thing. Second, well, you know, it's really a lot like that classical board game Battleship. There's just one square left to cross out. In
Moscow, they're trying to figure out how to respond further to Trump's unpredictable behavior.
If real patriotic reforms don't start in Russia now, the situation will simply become unpredictable. One by one, our allies are being systematically destroyed. It's clear who's next, and it's clear what negotiations with such an enemy mean.
Since Donald Trump returned to the White House, the Kremlin has avoided openly criticizing the US or its president. But now everyone is afraid for their own skin.
Here, of course, one can express deep disappointment that, despite information about significant progress in these negotiations, the situation has still deteriorated into direct aggression.
Propagandists openly admit that the Russian Federation could be next after Iran. I
am assessing the prospects of what will happen. I understand very well what the next problem will be. For us, first and foremost, there is one question that worries me. When will they come after us, or have they already started? And we understand that when they talk about Iran, they are also talking about Russia. They will treat us the same way now. They will strike Russia even more harshly.
The killing has undoubtedly affected two of Putin's deepest instincts, his deeply rooted paranoia about his own longevity and his drive for political survival defined by achieving victory over Ukraine at any cost.
This time, Putin commented on the situation in the Middle East off-camera.
Please accept my deepest condolences regarding the murder of the Supreme Leader of the Islamic Republic, Ali Khamenei, and members of his family. It was a blatant violation of all norms of human morality and international law. And
still, notably, Putin did not name the countries behind the assassination.
Russians themselves perceive this as a situation where Putin has nothing to say. And this is widely perceived by many as a clear sign of weakness. The nation of Russia is likely to be next, and Vladimir Putin himself will be the next target. And when they say, in
Russian circles, Khamenei's death prompted comparisons with the overthrow of another dictator, whom Putin also called a friend.
Respected Mr. Gaddafi, dear Libyan colleagues and friends, it is a great pleasure to allow me once again to extend a very warm and sincere welcome to all of you here in Moscow.
Back then, he was not afraid to speak with journalists and did not hide his emotions. In 2011, Gaddafi's death truly enraged Putin.
They killed him, and his corpse was shown on all the world's TV channels. It's impossible to watch without disgust.
And afterwards, he stated that he was against solving problems by military means, as was done in Libya.
The murder of a person is, in general, a terrible crime. Armed groups that try to resolve domestic political issues by force of arms.
3 years later, the Kremlin cannibal would go to war in Donbas and then seek to occupy all of Ukraine with bombings and killings.
Agreements on this matter are being forced through by means of the armed forces to achieve this goal, namely demilitarization. We will not allow armed forces in Ukraine that pose a threat from the perspective of the Russian Federation and its people. Yes.
Over the years, Putin became more and more isolated from those around him. During the coronavirus pandemic, he hid in a bunker, rarely appeared in public, and FSO officers had to quarantine. Now he has betrayed all his friends and comrades to whom he had promised help. And now the only thing left in the hands of the unhinged butler is nuclear weapons.
The elimination of Putin is absolutely legal, V. This sounds quite promising. It is likely the most cost-effective and straightforward way to finally bring a definitive end to the ongoing war in Ukraine.
Palace intrigues are intensifying. Venezuela and Iran have shown the extent to which traitors can infiltrate the inner circle of dictators. Putin is a coward and carries out purges. He is afraid, once again whispering in their ears that in place of Iran and Venezuela, it could have been them.
my office was destroyed after an attack by the Israeli regime. I smell gas. I should leave this building.
If the head of the regime does not intend to arrange a transfer of power, then top officials and elite groups may start considering their own strategies for such a scenario.
Today someone said, well, the president wants to do this very quickly. He'll get tired of it, but I won't get tired of it.
A US and Israeli military operation against Iran will definitely hit Russia and Putin. Everything is just beginning. Dictators leave office either for prison or for the grave.
China is already turning against Russia. Beijing is strengthening its influence in Central Asia and gradually absorbing regions of Russia that it historically considers its own. And now there's also an economic hit. The United States wants to redirect China toward American oil. Washington is considering asking Beijing to buy less oil from Russia and Iran and more from the United States ahead of the planned summit between Donald Trump and Xi Jinping in April. Here are the details.
Russia and China are increasingly talking about a friendship without limits. Moscow calls Beijing its main strategic partner. But now a new geopolitical game is beginning around this friendship called Russian oil.
And when it comes to the deep and enduring Russian-Chinese relations, you can very confidently say that absolutely any time of the year feels just like the blossoming of spring.
In early April, Trump is preparing his visit to China. And it is there that the US is considering the possibility of asking Xi to reduce purchases of oil from Russia and instead buy more American oil.
But it is impossible to imagine that the loss of, say, Russian oil volumes would maintain normal conditions in the global energy sector and the world economy.
Rather, a drop in oil volumes would lead to a decline in the Russian economy. But that's one thing. No matter how you look at it, China is currently one of the major buyers of this very oil. And on top of that, Putin is selling it to his friend at a good discount.
As for Putin, he simply has no other choice. If something really does happen in China and China suddenly stops buying, then things will get really bad. Of course, it simply doesn't make any logical sense for China to refuse this. Given the current circumstances, I honestly don't see what kind of deal or incentive Trump could realistically offer that would make China refuse at this particular stage.
At the same time, in the West, people are increasingly saying that China has significant influence over the Russian economy and therefore can use this influence politically.
But, this war is fully supported by China, and China could call Vladimir Putin and end this war as soon as tomorrow by stopping the supply of dual-use technologies that they are selling.
Beijing is gradually expanding its economic presence even in regions that were previously considered Russia's sphere of influence, for example, in the countries of Central Asia.
China is strengthening its influence in Central Asia. In Kazakhstan, it is ready to build a nuclear power plant. In Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan, it seeks to capture the automotive markets. In Tajikistan, it is claiming the mining industry.
China is investing in roads, railways, and infrastructure. Today, it is already the largest trading partner for many countries.
This process has been going on for a very, very long time. Chinese interests in Central Asia, well, they are at different levels in different countries, but they have been present almost from the very beginning after the collapse of the Soviet Union. China's influence there has grown so much that it has become visible to the naked eye. Previously, it was noticeable only to those who closely studied these countries. Of course, Russia's influence is still felt, but it is decreasing with each passing year.
Since I already mentioned the friendship without limits, it's precisely about the fact that China is strengthening its position even within Russia itself, especially in the Far East. And it seems that the Russians themselves don't really like this very much.
And the Chinese have long been saying, look, Baikal is ours. I'm telling you, soon enough they'll be saying that Crimea is ours too. They're already using all our resources, gold, coal, oil, gas. They use everything. It's a global power. We live in poverty.
Although the funniest thing is that it's actually Russia inviting Chinese companies counting on investment and regional development.
Putin has made a lot of old Soviet jokes come true. There was this old Soviet joke, the night on the Finnish-Chinese border passed quietly. And now Putin is moving at an accelerated pace toward making that joke a reality. And undoubtedly, as of today, Russia depends on China in every respect.
Interestingly, there's already panic inside Russia. Russian media are claiming that China intends to reclaim its territories.
Chinese history textbooks very often mention that almost all of Siberia, including Western Siberia up to the Tomsk region, are temporarily lost Chinese lands.
And here, apparently, Xi has decided to play by the Kremlin's rules. After all, Putin also likes to tie everything to history.
Chinese companies are currently very active and highly engaged in the vast Siberian and Far Eastern regions of Russia. The Chinese are actively settling all these lands, taking the resources.
So is the transfer of Russian territories to Beijing just a matter of time?
In my opinion, today this will depend solely on China's desire because, well, there are some territories, small but still some, that Russia has already transferred to China legally. Yes, it's unclear on what grounds, but they have been transferred. But of course, if we're talking about large territories like the Far East and Siberia, then in many places, Chinese business expansion there is simply total.
It seems that the policy of the Celestial Empire is quite simple. Xi simply chooses what is most beneficial for him, and it doesn't matter whether Putin is involved or not.
He's just hanging around here under my feet. Well, whatever. We'll make use of this for now, and then we'll see how things go. If it's profitable, we'll stay in some kind of relationship. If it's not profitable, we'll just walk away.
Let Putin go on living in his rosy dreams about a reliable partner in the form of China. In reality, though, Beijing acts according to its own logic. It takes resources, technology, and investments, but never takes risks for someone else's interests.
Ukraine is closing the sky over the Middle East. Our developments from recent years in the field of air defense are heading to save the powerful and wealthy countries of the Persian Gulf from Iranian missiles and drones. Details in our report.
Ukraine is becoming part of the Middle East security system. Shooting down Shaheds turned out to be more difficult than the Americans expected. And the U.S. Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, together with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dan Kane, are openly saying this. They admitted that Iranian Shaheds are a bigger problem than initially expected because the drones fly low and slow and can evade air defense systems better than ballistic missiles. While countries in the region are trying to defend themselves against Iranian-strike UAVs, it is precisely Ukraine's experience in countering Shaheds that is becoming critically important for its allies.
The drone and missile attacks that Iran is now using are, in essence, a new kind of warfare technique. When your conventional air defense systems are overloaded with cheaper drones and then ballistic missiles come in afterward, there is no single wonder weapon against this. What you need is a functioning system. In Ukraine, this system has been built up over years.
According to the Financial Times, the United States and at least one Gulf state are already in talks to purchase Ukrainian interceptor drones. They plan to use them to defend against Iranian Shahed UAVs, which Tehran has stockpiled by the tens of thousands and is actively deploying in the region. The reason for the interest in Ukrainian systems is not only their effectiveness, but also their cost. A single Iranian Shahed costs about $30,000, whereas a Patriot interceptor missile costs more than $13 million. Ukrainian interceptor drones are several times cheaper and have already proven their effectiveness in the war against Russia.
All of this needs to be set up, arranged in echelons, prioritized, and coordinated. This is exactly what they lack, because they have no experience in this.
It was Ukraine that was the first to begin mass deployment of serially produced interceptor drones costing only a few $1,000s to destroy Russian versions of Shaheds, which are regularly launched in waves at Ukrainian cities and infrastructure.
It is precisely for this experience, so that we can help make this system as effective as possible in a shorter time frame, that I think our specialists are being brought in.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has confirmed Kyiv's readiness to share its experience with the Middle East, and even its means of intercepting Iranian drones.
They want our expertise. We are open. If the representatives come, we will provide our expertise. All the more so since there are requests from Europeans and from the United States of America. We are receiving requests to share our experience with partners from the Middle East.
In return, Kyiv hopes to receive what Ukraine itself desperately lacks: missiles for the Patriot air defense systems.
We ourselves are at war, and I said quite frankly, we have a shortage of what they have. They have missiles for the Patriot, but with Patriot missiles, they won't be able to shoot down hundreds or thousands of Shaheds. It's expensive. For people, nothing is spared. That's clear. But they simply don't have that many missiles, so they need interceptor drones, which we have. And we have a shortage of PAC-2 and PAC-3 missiles. Therefore, if we talk about exchanging technologies, exchanging weapons, I think our country will be open to this.
Iran continues to carry out chaotic strikes on the countries of the Persian Gulf. In particular, the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, and Oman are under attack. Moreover, Tehran is also striking military facilities in other European countries. Among them are Germany, France, and the United Kingdom.
We need active stories where we are integrating into the European space, where we act together with Europe, and Europe sees that we are an asset, that we are a powerful, let's put it this way, reinforcement, a strengthening. And these are new technologies. I honestly think that the long-term benefits of regional unification are actually much more important than the potential new risks we might face directly from Iran and its influence.
Ukraine has once again proven Kyiv is an essential ally for European countries. even with limited resources, Ukrainian experience and technology are capable of protecting not only its own cities, but also ensuring the security of allies on the other side of the planet.
That's all for now. Stay with us to be the first to know what's happening right now. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. See you soon!